the Thursday Night Hang. How y'all doing? Good to see all of you. Thank you very much for tuning in. Always glad that you're here. Always honored that you take the time to spend with me here on the Thursday nights. And it is Thursday, what is it there? September 18th. And we're back again outside a little bit this time. Today the weather was pretty warm. Actually downright hot. And I thought, let's go outside. But right now, I feel like the dew point has increased. And suddenly it's kind of cool, but more like cool because it's cold. Right, so get out here and let me just readjust some of this here. We're going to be over here a little bit more. Oops. Yeah, that's better. We want to get a little bit of the fire tonight. I'm going to build a fire. One of the things that I've been doing here recently is using a Weber kettle for the fire, right? So one of the things, whenever we build fires, there's, the fire pits are always low, they're on the ground or whatever. And those are great, and we really like to go with very big fires, typically with my group of friends. And the problem is that as you're sitting there, the fire's raging, and your shins are always getting burned first. And I'm like, man, I wish we could have a way to solve that. And so I started using this last winter, making a fire in the Weber kettle. Can you see the latest Weber kettle? And I think it's really a great solution to getting hot or getting heat without necessarily burning your shins. And that's what we're going to do today. Mom, how are you? Good to see you. George, how are you? So we're going to start off by seeing if we can light this on fire. Now, I did leave a lot of this stuff out here. It all sits outside, so it was raining pretty heavily the last couple of days, especially yesterday. So I don't know how difficult it's going to be tonight. Hopefully it won't be too bad. And one thing, since I do this woodworking thing now, it's good because I have a lot of burning stuff to burn typically. Today, not so much, but at the bottom here, there's a lot of like cutoffs. So let's see if we can get those to light up well. How's it looking now? It's looking pretty good. We're starting off. Oh gosh, there it is. Let's see if we can get this thing to go. It really is bright, isn't it? Let's turn that down. That's probably better. I've got all kinds of coffee. I don't think we get a good flame today. We're having some struggles here. Let's see if we can get more. Struggles. We are struggling. We are struggling here. Most nights that I'm out here, I'm out here quite a lot, it's usually pretty quick. But, like I said, I don't normally have to battle the whole thing with the maybe I don't have enough airflow reaching the interior. we can get it rolling, then it's not a big deal. All right, there we go. I think that's getting us a good fire starting. All right, let's see if that'll hold on for a bit. All right, all right. So what's going on? How y'all doing? Who's here with us besides my mom's here? Can't hear you too good. Oh, is it maybe it's the, maybe I'm too far from the mic? And not very good lighting, a little bit more. You need a little bit more now? On my end, it looks pretty good. I don't know. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you think. So our fire's rolling. And that's probably better. Once it's bright, I need to come over and show you how to put a fire. It does not reach the downspout. True to that. True to that. True to that. All right, we got our fire rolling now, and now we're gonna make our coffee. So let's get the coffee here. I've already got it. Like last week, I already got it pre-ground. Put it in the little Avid Clever brew because it's just an easy way to brew out here. This is a blend of coffees that I was playing around with earlier today. It's a blend of Colombia Huila as well as some Gautama from Brazil, which is a kind of like a semi-washed coffee. And yeah, that was it. So we got that. And the fire's rolling now. The fire's rolling. Don't you guys worry. The fire's rolling. Got our little thermos of the Zujirishi. Yeah, I think it'd be nice to come outside because the weather's kind of pleasant. Even though it's a little bit lesser than we're normally used to out here. What time is it? 12:08. Okay, so when you guys are watching the stream, you don't actually see the showtime like I see it. Okay. I'm actually watching tonight's live stream. Like I'm monitoring the live stream from my laptop, which is running on a whole different account. So it's not the account that I'm running the stream from. Not the OnoLive account. It's actually running from the Ono Coffee account. So really what you want is you put 12 ounces, 350 milliliters of water with 24 grams of ground coffee, and you let it sit for 3 minutes. And then with this, you want it, after about 3 minutes, then you plunge it onto your cup, and then it will, look at the fire spreading. Better, should probably get a little bit, I should probably remove this piece of oak. Oh yeah, see now once you get it rolling, it's all good. I have found that like if I'm using pine, the pine I guess is still pretty, like you can see it sparking. The pine lumber cutoffs tend to be pretty wet, so that's why there's a lot of popping. Almost there. We got a therm on here. Yeah, see, not bad. I was planning on like putting the fire between the camera and myself, but then it might become too far away. I'll have to try to enunciate and project to the camera more so that it sounds better. Mom, let me know if this is actually better for you now, sound-wise. I know there's also a lot of bug noises from around. Ooh, it's getting kind of warm. I have to be careful because I'm actually very close to the fire. Like the kettle is like 18 inches, 24 inches at the most. Just like, and I'm a little bit with the camera, right? Like the tripod. The tripod is a carbon fiber tripod. Is the tripod going to deform or melt? Is the camera going to malfunction? I don't know. All right, so we've got 3 minutes. So now we're going to put this on top here, and then the coffee is going to flow through the filter and into the coffee, into the mug. I also like to pull the lid off just slightly like this, just to make sure that air will be able to displace the liquid that's flowing out. I have had situations like at Spro where there was enough moisture around the lid here that it actually sealed it and wouldn't fall. So it's just got, oh, that's done already. And it's like right at the very top. All right, let's see. Genius. You'd think the guy who did this was like a master of coffee or something. All right, that's good. So how's everyone doing? How was your week this week? Was everything in your favor? What did I do this week? I didn't do much of anything this week. Today's a little bit of an exciting day, September 18th, because today is another release of Festool Madness. I didn't buy anything. They have this thing called the MB40, which is a drilling guide, vertical drilling guide. It's actually very precise and accurate, but I'm like, well, I don't really have a need for something like that. All right, let's put on some more wood. Keep the fire going. So I'm putting this big, I see here's something that, I don't know if you're interested in this, like this is hardwood, this is oak. This is like a white oak hardwood. And it comes from a pallet. This is actually pallet wood. And I found that the first time I started tearing apart pallets to see about salvaging wood, I was like, this is hardwood. So there's oak, poplar. I mean, there's a lot of hardwoods out there, and they're very roughly sawn. But if you want, you can actually clean them up really well. This one has like nails in it still, because I wasn't able to get those out. So I don't run those through the machines. Ouch. Bad idea. George says it's better. It was better. How's the bandsaw collection coming? Says Tony. Bandsaw collection is good. It's good. It's done. I think I might have mentioned last week that I went and bought a bandsaw. Found a guy up in Pennsylvania, out past Harrisburg, that was selling an old Bulgarian bandsaw. That's actually, I think, a Laguna, an older Laguna, and I still haven't. I've set it up. I built the stand. I put wheels on it. It's too tall, so I got to lower it again somehow. And then I have to wire in all the electrical for it. Like it needs 220 power, right? So I have 220 power here, but I was looking at the panel, and I was like, oh, I put in 220 many years ago because I used it for something. I don't remember what it was. Oh, it's for the coffee roaster. But the coffee roaster doesn't require a lot of power, right? It doesn't require a lot of amperage. So I looked at the breaker, and I was like, it's a 10 amp breaker. I need at least 15 amps. So I need to put a 20 amp breaker in, change all the wiring, put in, I mean, the plug that's in it is actually, will support 20 amps. Because it's the one that has this configuration. And then I noticed that one of the other outlets that this is connected to, that box has on it, had somehow burned. And I was like, oh, that's bad. So I'll have to tear the whole panel apart, see what's wrong with it, and then replace whatever is charred and nasty. All right, that's good. So tonight's cigar is one that was gifted to me by David Knopf. So David, thank you very much if you're there, man. Dave, I appreciate this. But he gave it to me a while back, and I remember he was like, here's some cigars for you. Put them down, don't smoke them for a while. Now, Dave didn't say how long for a while was, so I was kind of like, what should I do? So finally, after Was it after? I think it was after I got out of the hospital. Maybe it was before. It had been months by this point. Months. Like months had gone by. I was finally like, well, you know what, man? I guess it's got it. Hopefully, this should be enough time, right? Because I'm wondering, is it going to be too underprepared? Like, remember that I told you my story about the bundle of Stolen Thrones, and I was like, oh, man, I spent the whole year smoking this bundle, 18 of the 20, and then only the last 2 in November were of any beauty. And I was like, okay, well, I hope that's not the case. So I waited, and then I don't know how long I waited. And I started smoking them, and I was like, oh my gosh. I think I mentioned this last year, but it's very good. Like, I'm like, whoa, what's going on with this cigar? So I thought we would use that today as our cigar of the week. So in the boxes of 20, it's a box of 25. After tonight, there's going to be 18 cigars now. And so in the last few weeks, I've tried to be very frugal with them. But man, every once in a while, it's like, I need to smoke that. So that's where we are tonight. We're going to be having the El Triunfador. I don't know if you can see that too well. Let me come a little bit closer. So here it is, El Triunfador. Very lovely. Like, it's very like oily and moist and just smooth and kind of silky feeling. Like, it's a really pretty cigar. Now, Tony mentioned something, I think I mentioned last week, or maybe I was talking to her in person or something, but somehow there was a conversation where we talked about the Triunfador, and Triunfador used to be a Lancero only cigar. And so this is not a Lancero, this is a Robusto. And so I think it was Tony, was like, well, they came out with a Robusto recently. I was like, oh, all right. I don't know whether these are normal releases or not. Actually, I don't know much of anything about these cigars other than the fact that they came out quite a long time ago as a Lancero, wildly popular, or maybe just popular amongst those in the know, which within that group, it was wildly popular. And then they went away for a long time, and now they're back. And I don't know if they're back just for a limited engagement, or if they're back for an extended run. Tony's having the Governor Lancero from Maximilian Cigars and a Diet Pepsi. Nice Diet Pepsi, excellent, excellent. Were you able to get us any of those Our-Field special? You know, I didn't even think about calling it. I haven't really, I'll have to call. I'll have to find out. I don't, but they might, they had them on the website before, so yeah, I haven't tried. All right, so let's get into it. You know, this is one of those things where, like, when you smoke a cigar that you're just smoking for your personal enjoyment, like, I don't normally sit there and like smell the wrapper and think about necessarily what it tastes like. Does it have a manure-ness to it? Does it have barnyard? Does it have whatever? This has a mulchy manure kind of aroma with a light amount of spice underneath it all. It does have a pigtail cap, right? So there's a pigtail cap. I don't know if you can see that. Tony says it's slow production, but regular production. Oh, okay, good. I don't know what we're going to end up scoring this today, because, you know, one never knows what the show cigar is going to perform as. But I presume it's going to be fairly positive, because I have been smoking these in my personal life, and they've been very, very good. Like, really good. So hopefully, but then again, you know, when we did the Padron 1964, which has always been anniversary, that's always been a very good cigar that we've smoked. The one that I got for the show the night that we did, it was terrible. It's not just for whatever reason, that one cigar out of all 64s I've smoked in my entire existence was the one that faltered. So hopefully this will not be the one that falters. Cutting it with our Tonino Lamborghini double cutter. Look at that, Tonino Lamborghini, right? The little Lamborghini symbol right there. This was a gift to me from my cousin Michelle. Thank you, Michelle. I appreciate that. Many years ago, she gave this to me because she. But I'm a Ferrari guy, not a Lamborghini guy. right, let's see. Cold draw now. Cold draw. There's like a low-key spiciness to it. Like, you know what it tastes like to me? There's a low-key character of La Valentina. You know La Valentina, the hot sauce? There's a low-key, like, presence of that. But easy drawing on the cold draw. Very nice, very nice. Let me make some notes here. Fairly dark. Pretty good fragrance, pretty good. I'm gonna say 8.5. Oh man, see, it's definitely very like, it's definitely humid out here because my paper is like, it's got that wet paper, like humid paper feel. So when you're writing on it, you feel like, oh, maybe it's gonna tear. Huh, interesting. George Brightman says, that's good to see you, George. El Triunfador Robustos are kick-ass but hardly stop. For a while, the only Triunfador we could get was the Old Man and the Sea. Oh, which is the Culebras, which is the 3 cigars twisted together, braided together. Tony says, I'm asking the Brain Trust, any thoughts on a good laptop sleeve for maximum production? You know, laptop sleeve, here, let me show you something. This is my 2013 MacBook Air. It is totally raw. Now, I'm telling you that I'm showing this because it's been running raw it's been running bare, no condoms, for quite a long time now. But I did start out for the longest time with one of the in-case type shells. But it really, through my travels, you know, it really got beat up and cracked and the tabs all broke off. So, you know, it was like barely sticking on. So I just finally like left it behind. I was like, forget it. I'm just going to use it this way. So, I don't know. I like the new kids now have the wraps. They get these wraps, like stickers on them. I think that's pretty cool. But I don't know. I don't know if there's much difference. So we're burning now. Let me add some more flame. I'm always looking for my accoutrement, like this implement. But like I said, I can't see what I'm doing because I can't really see what's happening because there's no light, and I never really remember to bring an extra light out here to make that happen. Let me push some stuff around underneath here too. I burn everything here. Whatever I get, I burn. You know, I don't ask because, you know, I'm sure the answer is don't do it, but plywood, I'm burning plywood. Whatever I get, I'm burning. Whatever all the leftovers, burning. George says, I'm finishing a Burma Craft Vodka in honor of me. Oh, thank you very much. But I'm going to have to bail early because of very early PT. No worries, man. It's always good to see you. Always glad you're here. Always glad you're here. And we're looking forward to coming down next Thursday to the Capitol. I don't know how to turn up the mic, but I will try to speak louder and closer. Oh, look at that. It's good. There's a little funnel between us. The smoke is just blowing between the camera and me. All right, so we are lighting now. George says, sadly, I can hear the crickets just fine. Yeah, I know. Sorry about that. It's all right. Yeah, this really is their domain. You know what someone just reminded me that, oh, nice flavor of the mic. Star Wars Andor had a season 2. I totally forgot about that. I still gotta check that out. I haven't really watched anything. I watched the finale last Friday of Strange New Worlds. And someone on the live stream yesterday morning was like, what'd you think of the finale? And I was like, I don't remember what happened. So it took me a moment to remember what had happened. But I liked it. And then, but evidently a lot of the fandom didn't really think that season 3 was very strong. I don't know, what do you guys think about it? And also, evidently, I was reading an article yesterday. Season 4 has already been shot. They've already shot season 4, so it's like, oh, how long will it take now? So I was like, oh wow, that's amazing. But you know, and of course they just say sometime in 2026, so that probably means a year away. So it's like, that's no good. And then there will be a season 5, but that will be the very end. So 5 seasons. See, which is kind of a rip, right? We're in an era of streaming now. 10 episode seasons. Sure, they're theoretically an hour long, but 10 episodes. And then before, you would have a network show ran 23 episodes a year, a season, and you would get maybe 7 seasons if the show was popular or more. Now 5, and only I said, come on, man, can't you make more? Why is that so difficult? George says, I'm so excited to see many on Thursday. Good times, yes, I'm looking forward to it. Thursday should be a good time. Tony says it was almost like every other episode of season 3 was kind of a snooze. Really? See, I always enjoy the shows like that, like Star Trek. I just enjoy it. Whether or not I necessarily groove with, there's usually for me one episode a season that I really like. Like last season was the Lower Decks was the best one, and then right below that was the musical. I like these strange ones. The rest are pretty good. This one, I don't know if I had one that really stood out to me. Maybe the Vulcan one, but maybe that's to your point. Steven's with us. What's going on, Steven? How are things out in Arizona? Ooh, the fire is getting bigger. I don't normally sit this close to the fire. I am super, super close. It doesn't necessarily look like it on camera, but I am very close to this thing. Here's my thumbs, right? Here's my thumbs. I can. That's how close we are. But the nice thing about this fire, with this kettle, my knees are not burning. My torso and my jacket may catch on fire, but my knees will not be burning. So I remember you guys were mentioning other shows last week. How are those turning out? I watched one episode, I watched the most recent episode, last week's episode of Alien Earth, and that was pretty good. You know, it's just there's always something in these, we've got aliens, right? These extraterrestrial beings that are just carnivorous creatures ready to kill humans at any cost, right? What that was. But humans are always so lax in how they contain them. So, you know, of course, they're escaping now. And who knows what havoc they're going to wreak upon the planet. Ooh, man, that's good. It's going well. Look at this, look at this, look at this, look at this. I don't know about you guys, but like whenever I'm making fire or something like that, like if I walk by, I can feel the pressure in my ears from the heat. I'm like, oh, that's so weird. It's so like unnerving. Oh gosh. Crazy with this, hi all, no cigar for me tonight. Oh why? What's going on with that? Are you not feeling well? Are you not feeling well? Or have you smoked through your entire collection of vintage Cubans? Let's see how our coffee's doing. Yeah, the fire seems not burning pretty well. So right now we've got 2 pieces of pine 2x4 that are starting to pop now. There's a big 4x4 square of pine underneath it all, and then there's oak and cherry, the oak plank above it, and then cherry bits all around it. I have to say that, you know, woodworking cutoffs, the hardwood cutoffs, are really nice for a fire bag. Okay, says, no, just have stuff to do inside. I understood. Not many people have the luxury anymore of smoking in the house. I remember the first time that I learned, when I first started smoking, we were at Tony's house. And and his father and me had a cigar in his kitchen. And I was like, what? In your kitchen? This is crazy. I've never been so crazy even before that or ever since. Well, Andrew's with us, just tuned in with my father's H2K, Connecticut, and McKenna's George turning me into a bourbon. Oh, nice, McKenna's, very nice. When it comes time to resume the dinner, let me know. We will plan on some wine. I'll have some to try. Go back to the cold weather. Yeah, but back to that bandsaw. You know, the bandsaw is pretty big, and the nice thing is that whoever had it prior to me and prior to the guy that I bought it from, because he didn't really use it too much. He kind of kept it in his barn, got a little bit rusty, and then he brought it into his air-conditioned shop, and then he didn't really use it because it was way too big for his space. But somebody along the way had put in this like bandsaw blade that they call the resaw king, and I didn't know that until like I showed a picture to some of these guys that I know online, and one of the guys was like, "Oh, dude, you should get that blade resharpened, not replace it. That's the bandsaw. That's the resaw king from Laguna." And I looked it up, and I was like, "Whoa, these blades are like 130 to 160 bucks, like carbide tip." And I was like, "Whoa, you will see about resharpening that." But evidently, Laguna doesn't resharpen anything past 3 years, so I got to find another resharper. But I haven't really looked at it. I found one place downtown in Baltimore that does blade sharpening, but they don't do bandsaw blades. They do make custom bandsaw blades. If I want a custom bandsaw blade, they will make that for me. I was like, oh, what possibilities are available to us? All right, George, have a great one. See you next week. The fire's not doing too bad. It's getting a little bit down. A lot of my fires are mostly made of discarded pallet wood. Like I'll pick up pallets along the way, and then like there's part like one of the pallets that I picked up recently was I got a couple of those plywood pallets. So that plywood, like maybe like half an inch thick plywood. And by the time I get them, they're fairly beat up. So, you're not going to get the full sheet out of it, but you'll get a bit of it. And then in order to make the spacers, they actually use plywood. They like 3/4 inch plywood that they cut into like squares, and they stack the squares to make a pad, like the 4-inch pad. And so you knock those off, and then I burn those. I burn a lot of those. Then like pieces of the pallet that don't, that break off or crack, it's just not suitable for milling. So how about the cigar? Cigar, we're really into the first third, and it's pleasurable. It's as pleasurable as it has been. Now, what kind of characters we have? Dark cocoa. There's dark cocoa, I would say, was probably the big characteristic of this smoke right now. A little bit of spice, but just very, very, very little. Like more, and not even like a hot spice, but more like maybe a mace kind of spice rather than. But it's got a rich flavor. It's a good body, good smoke production, very easy. Not very easy draw, but a very good draw, a slightly resistive draw that makes the draw pleasurable, right? Like there's a certain level of resistance when you're drawing on a cigar that makes it pleasurable, makes that aspect of it pleasurable. This does have that right amount of resistance in the airflow, or in the suction. Stevie says, nice fireball. It's not too bad. At this distance, it's not too bad. I'm fairly close now. Maybe this is 18 inches from the edge of my chair to the bowl. Weber medium kettle. It's actually, I've been using it for months now, like for maybe almost a year. Making fires probably at least once a week. Well, when I'm around. And man, it has held up well. I was expecting it to blister and to crack, or like, to paint the blister and to rust. But this Weber, man, Webers are awesome. Like, I'm really like, as a fire pit, I'm totally digging it. Highly recommend it, by the way. Highly recommend it. Like, it's a nice small, the medium-sized kettle is nice and small. It's well contained. You don't burn your shins. Now, there are certain nights that I've been out here when it was a little bit chillier. They were, okay, maybe it would have been nice to have a little bit more exposure. Like if it was a little bit lower, that would have been kind of nicer. But overall, man, it's just heat, torso heat. But if you look here, I don't know if you can see it, the ash, very nice and white. So they say that the white ash is supposed to be more magnesium in the ground. I don't know if that's true, but I think it sounds like a nice bit of knowledge to talk about when you're at the cigar lounge. You know, the white, and you got to put on the right kind of like tone, right? When you're at the cigar lounge with a bunch of guys, you're like, you know, when the ash is very white like this, that means that the ground had a lot of magnesium, and that means this is a quality cigar. Actually, Steve, one of our friends from here in Baltimore, one of the guys we hang out with, was just in Phoenix. He messaged us this morning or last night. He's like, I'm in Phoenix. I was like, well, go. I said, go call up Brian's brother, or call up Steve, and then go have a cigar with us. Oh, but I'm just here for a meeting. I'm flying out already. I was like, oh, that's too bad. How far is Phoenix, Stephen, from San Diego if you were to drive? I was just thinking, you know, our annual trade show for the coffee industry is in April in San Diego this year. And when we were in, where were we last? 2 years ago we were in, 2 years ago we were in Chicago, but I was going to Las Vegas for a trade show after, and so I was thinking I should go down, and I was going to come down, I was thinking I should drive down to Phoenix and to Tucson, but then I ended up going to Salt Lake City, so that was a little bit of a change of plan. Maybe this year we'll try to do that. I think it's only like 5 hours or something like that. I think that's a fairly doable drive. Andrew says magnesium stating was such a problem. You must always have a sense of determination at the cigar lounge. Rusty says, what's going on, Rusty? How are you, man? Just got home from speed dating. Back to school night. What did I don't know. Really, the question is, you were at speed dating. What did we miss? That's... I've never done the speed dating thing. I've done speed dating, like, okay, we went out one night and that was enough, but like, I've never done the speed dating, like in the movie Hitch. I never did that. Not because I was against it or because I stood above it. No. I never stand above those things. I was just never invited to it, or I didn't even know they existed. I remember one time I went to, like, I did go to a dating service. And I was like, you know, interviewing with them or whatever, and talking to them. They were asking, so what are you looking for? I said, and this is what I want, right? This is what I'm looking for. And, you know, I remember the person, I can't remember if it was a man or woman, and they were like, I told them what I wanted, and evidently what I wanted was unrealistic, right? Like, I was like, yeah, I want a good-looking woman, right? Nice woman, kind of hot. And I guess the whole thought was, well, you're a fat guy. Why would you want to? We're going to give you a fat girl. I'm like, I don't want a fat girl. If I'm going to a dating service, I can go get a fat girl on my own. I don't need the service to give me a fat girl. Right? I need a service to give me the unobtainium type of girl. Like, this is what you're about. Like, this is how I see it. Like, I don't need services unless it's something extreme, right? And then one time I remember I tried the, what's that big dating app that they had out? I think it's still out there. There's a big dating app, huge. And man, I got online and I was looking at it and I started like filling out the questions. And they have all these questions, like tons and tons and tons of questions. And after a while, after like maybe the first, like maybe page down, I was like, forget it. This is too many questions, man. Really the only question that I wanted to, especially in my 20s, was, do you want to grind? Or, you know, and that's it. That's all that mattered. That's all that mattered back then. Now you might want to have love and tenderness and caring and like sensitive feelings. But back then you were already just sensitive enough. You're like, I'm ready. Steven says 5.5 hours to San Diego. Oh, that's not bad. That's not bad. Rusty says it's awkward when it's just me and a parent, and I have 7 minutes to tell them all about me in the class. Oh, that's weird. We cook and we clean. That's what we do. We cook and we clean. And your son doesn't do jack. Fire's not going down. Josephus Comedy's with us. What's going on, Josephus? I don't want to be rude, but you look like a Mexican Patton Oswalt. Oh, that's nice, man. Muchas gracias, por favor, señor. I like Patton Oswalt. I don't think that's bad. Maybe I still, if I could make the money of Patton Oswalt doing YouTube, that would be the ideal situation. And Steven says, Brian's recovering from kidney. Oh, man. I didn't know that. We're going to have to message him. That's to you, Brian. That's terrible. I was actually driving around earlier today. I had a bunch of stuff that I was doing. I was getting ready, and I was like, oh, man. I was thinking about, I was actually thinking about a fire and a cigar tonight. I was like, oh, I'm going to have a fire, and maybe sit down for a cigar and take it easy. And then I was like, wait a minute. It's Thursday. We have the live stream tonight. So I was like, oh, man. Latin Oswald. I like that. I like that. I like that. Who would I like to have been look like? I think that if you had said that I look like what's his name? Matthew McConaughey. That would be a stretch. Okay, that's a stretch. That's a stretch. I appreciate that, but that would be a stretch. But Patton Oswalt, I get that. What was he in recently? I don't recall. The fire's still strong, the food is still good, but I think we need to add more wood. To keep it going. Got a lot of these oak cut-off pieces. Oh, that's bad news. Wait a minute, Brian's recovering from kidney. I thought, Bud, you said that he was at your place. More oak. More oak. This here is black locust from a tree that fell back in May. Now, it's fairly cool right now, but when these ignite, it's probably going to get pretty darn hot. Tony says, with not a lot of work, you could be Fluffy's. I'm trying to get away from Fluffy's evil twin. I do like Fluffy. I haven't seen his new stuff, but I gotta say, what I like about Fluffy is that when he goes to some locale and he's doing a show, and he's like doing jokes about the local scene, I think he's probably very good on it. Because I remember when he went to Hawaii, and he did the show at the Hawaii Theater. Man, he caught all kinds of nuance of local culture that I was just rolling. I was like, oh my God, man, I can't believe this guy actually knows this. He was really spot on a lot of his jokes about Hawaii. I was like, oh, I could only respect that. Like, I don't go to comedy shows a lot. I went to go see that guy, Joe Coy, the Filipino guy. He came to Baltimore a couple years back. I was pretty interested to see him because, he's kind of funny. The videos that he has on YouTube are pretty funny, right? Like his stand-up is pretty good. But he comes to Baltimore and he's like, well, I'm working on material for my new show, for my new special. So maybe something here will we'll make it to that eventually. But the guy was completely unprepared. Like he did no preparation. He had nothing prepared. He was just riffing on members of the audience, and they were really in the front. And basically, we sat there for like 90 minutes, and I was like, I spent $65, and you wasted my time. I was really upset. Like my friends who I went with, like they all loved it. I think they all loved it, but I was just like, what are you guys talking about? He didn't do anything, and I was so upset with that. I was like, I'm never going to see him again. Because I think if you're going to do something like that, and you're having an audience pay you to do that, pay to see you, excited to see you, you should be prepared, man. Like he wasn't prepared. I was like, Tony says, we think he may have joined Prince Eric at the Elks when there's no... Oh, gotcha. You know, when Bud talked about the fire, I thought that meant that Brian was there. But maybe he's really at home. You know, he's probably really at home. And, I mean, I've never had them, but I can't imagine that kidney stones or stones of any kind that are trapped in your bowels are any pleasurable experience to have. And I've seen them at times when they were developing. I was like, man, you look messed up, dude. Well, they're now in their wedding, so now it's getting good. Coffee's nice. This is going well. Tony says his kidney stone was better today. Oh, good, good. Right, since you're here, man, that reminds me. And anyone else might be interested. Clyde came out to this demo of this thing called the Shaper Origin, which is a CNC router thing for woodworking. And they're doing another one this Saturday from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Woodcraft Human Timonium, if you're interested. They're doing a demo, and I think they're giving one away as a big national drawing. It's not going to happen there. It's going to happen at another time, but that could be something interesting. And they've got this new device now, which is kind of strange, right? Like, so the idea behind this device is that you program whatever you want to cut into wood or whatever material into the machine, and on the screen it shows the pattern that you're going to follow, and you just kind of move the machine in the... Man, it's getting hot now. You just move the machine in the pattern, and if you follow the screen, and now if you deviate too far, it automatically pulls the bit out, and so you don't damage it. But and then you go back, and it goes back in, and you start again. It's fairly a nice idea, and a lot of people love it. Matt got one. He hates it now. He's always like, oh, it's a piece of junk. I don't know what's wrong. But I used it once, and it was pretty cool. I mean, I don't know how to use it. I don't know what I use it for a lot of times, but you can use it for so many things. They have a new thing for it now, and I forgot the name of it. But basically, you take this and you put it in some kind of motorized sled. And it's limited. It's not like a huge CNC machine, but it will now like automate it for you. So I was like, oh, now we're just working in reverse. So that's coming up on Saturday, if you're interested. But like I said, today was the Festool release day. September 18th is the day that Festool was releasing all these new tools. So in Europe, they released all these new things like cordless dominoes, cordless, what else they did? They did a cordless planer. They did cordless circular saw. There's a whole bunch of stuff that came out in Europe. Here in the United States, they didn't release any of those things. They released like I said, the drill guide, which is kind of cool, but I don't know if I don't have a need for that kind of thing, or drilling like this. I have a Miles Craft $40 version of it that works fine enough. And then they released these clamps, like the clamps, those. And then they also released a new Rotex, but not a new one, but the same Rotex that they've always had, which is the geared sander. But it's like $50 less, and it's like Nothing too exciting today. I was like, come on, man. Give us something more, Festool. George Juan says it was 80 degrees today and my fire is successful in front. When winter hits, the fire doesn't work with or again. Well, hopefully with. But I've had fairly good luck firing the fire in this kettle. Now, one day we'll go back to the chimenea, which may have better promises for bigger fires. But this, what really works well here is that these are all a lot of these are like offcuts. So everything's fairly, or like pallet wood, so it's fairly well seasoned. Or dry, right? So it lights and burns pretty good. The cigar now, we're past the first third. We should rate the first third. You know, the flavor was very good plus. The body was nice and medium, but very good plus. You know, I mean, here's the thing, like, I'm giving it 8.5. See what I'm writing. Like I'm not rating this as an excellent, like a 9. Like it's very good, but man, it is very good. Like it is. And I'm wondering, like a lot of the cigars that I tend to really like in my personal life tend to be in this 8.5 range rather than like 9+ range. Like certainly like the 20th anniversary My Father or the Mir are just stellar smokes. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful cigars with a wonderful experience attached to them. But I don't know if that's what I would want to smoke all the time. Like this is the kind of thing that I would smoke all the time. This, like, or the Castellita Murcia from Romacraft or the Revenge, I think those are all of similar veins in that they're very good. They're not like these superb, like delicate beauties of like tobacco engineering. They're just like beautifully done, satisfying, ingratiating cigars, right? Anton's with us. What's good, Anton? Man, good to see you. Any defects? No defects, man. No defects in this one. No defects in the coffee. The coffee is actually a blend of the Guajupe, which is the semi-wash from Brazil, as well as Awhile from Colombia, from this woman that we know here she's in Virginia actually. She runs a company called Paisa, an import company, and she works with a bunch of farmers, mostly in Awhile, Colombia. And this one is a washed Awhile and then a semi-washed Guajupe. Very nice, very nice. I don't have enough of it blended up to do because I was thinking Anton's from one of our regulars from the morning show, and so tomorrow, Anton, I think we're going to do the Technivorm. Little brew of the Technivorm, but I don't have enough coffee of this to actually brew in a Technivorm. I only blended up a couple cups worth, so. Although maybe we could always do like, we'll see if the Technivorm can brew 12 ounces or 1 cup at a time. That could be something else. Mystery says, I look stoned. I do look stoned because I'm smoking cigars, my friend. That's what happens. You get that? That's the beauty of cigars, right? You sit down, either by yourself or with friends, and you sit back and you have a smoke. And unlike cigarettes, where you're like trying to get that stimulation, like, you know, that nicotine from cigarettes, I think hits people right here, like by the jugular. Like, cigars are about that kind of like chilling. You chill, and you talk. You don't really see people running around like getting angry in the cigar shop. Like, people do get angry, but most of the time it's convivial discussion, relaxed. Everyone's sitting back in comfortable chairs, You know, you're not like outside and like in the snow and the rain trying to get your hit. You're just trying to sit back and maybe take an hour or two to relax. So yeah, high is a good way to describe it. Good way. George Wondask says, I wish this cigar came with Toro. I like the Robusto, but it's too short, and I'm not a Lancero guy. You know, you could do like what Brian does and just smoke 2 in a row. It would not be bad. It would not be a bad thing to do. Andrew says, cool math trivia. This week we had Prime Square Day, 9/16/25. Capital Cigar address is also cool, 4916. Oh, nice. Both squares with sequential integers. Only an architect would see that. A coffee guy like myself doesn't even, I don't know, integer? Integer? What is that all about? Anton says, Technivorn, gotcha. I got experience with that. Never tried light roast on it though. I think the thermal can is the weakest point of it. You know, on the one that I have does not have a thermal can. So we're going to have all glass tomorrow, all glass. And you know, the interesting thing that so those of you may have seen the morning show, and I did this morning show about coffee, called the Coffee Q&A on the OnoCoffee channel, 10 a.m. Eastern on most weekdays. And I did this video, we did an episode where we looked at the Simply Good Coffee, the Olsen Brewer by Simply Good Coffee. And ever since that day, my Facebook feed has been filled with ads from Olsen. Like, it's just like, and evidently Olsen, there's a new version of it that's where they're like, it's all metal pathways. So everything is stainless in the brew path, right? Stainless everything, it doesn't touch any plastic. And I was like, okay, that's kind of cool. I looked at the price, $465. I was like, $465? What happened to Simply Good Coffee being an affordable brewer solution? Like at $100, $150, maybe that's affordable, right? High quality brewer making nice, properly brewed coffee for $150. Okay, that's not bad. Not as cheap as the $25 Mr. Coffee, but still a much better brew. But now 400, almost 465. I was like, 465. Better come with free shipping. Misky says that Tony Soprano is angry. Actually, was there an episode in The Sopranos where Tony started smoking a cigar and then he got mad and then he put the cigar, he got rid of the cigar? Because I think we still discussed it. I was watching when I was sick in July. All I could do was lie there and like watch YouTube. Right, so that like month I ended up watching like all these clips from Sopranos, and I think that was one of them. I think that was. Anton says, "Okay, guys, so yeah, you should go to bed, man." Germany is not what Germany right now. It's like 7 hours, 6 hours ahead. So yeah, it's like 3 in the morning for you. Go get some rest. See you tomorrow. Mystery says, what's the best coffee you ever had? Blend wise and for me, the best coffee I ever had was a coffee produced by a guy that I know, Abdullah Bagersh. And Abdullah is a really well-known coffee producer or operator in Ethiopia. And he's got an operation in the Yirgacheffer region called Misty Valley. And Misty Valley produced in 2007 this natural processed coffee called the Idido Misty Valley. And to me, that was like the highlight of my career. That was the best, to me, that was the best coffee I've ever had. And I've had amazingly beautiful coffees that most people in the business will describe as highly regarded and describe as some of the greatest coffee that they've ever had. But to me, that's really the coffee that really resonated with me. I love natural processed coffees that have beautiful blueberry characteristics to them. I love that. So to me, that was the most memorable, which I would say would be the best. But I mean, I've had the geishas and all the beautiful coffees that people talk about online and stuff like that. I've tried some of them or variations on them, and maybe not from necessarily the same producers, but some of them are lauding because I don't get to try everything. But I get to try quite a wide spectrum of stuff. But that's what I would say. To me, I like natural processed blueberry flavor. But the thing is, I haven't had a coffee experience like that with the blueberry, the very apparent blueberry character since that time. I've been looking for it. I would love to find something like that, but we have not had that since. I need some more wood. You know, the truth is, I'm nowhere near running out of wood here, but I feel stressed because, you know, to me, I feel like I am running out because it's a lot less than I used to have. Some more black locust and some more white oak. All very local wood. This white oak came from my friend's house in his backyard, and then this black locust came from about 50 feet over there. Mystery says more bitter or acidic. No, more. You know, see, here's the thing. I don't really want. I like something a little bit more in between those two. I don't like extremes. I don't want to have heavy bitterness. I don't really like all the bright, super bright stuff. Like a lot of the younger cats, they love the super bright and acidic coffees. I'm not a big fan of that. I like more balance in my coffees, and I like that's kind of like when it comes to food or like cigars or anything. I like more balance in the flavor components rather than extremes. Like, and I tend to equate that with, let's say, when it comes to coffee, like, you know, I know a lot of the younger kids don't really like the acidic stuff, but for me, I think that those guys tend to also be the type of people that prefer to have IPAs, right? Like heavy, hoppy IPAs, like the extreme kind of hops, like the drinking marijuana kind of hoppy levels. I'm not a big fan of that kind of extreme. So I like more balance. How about yourself? What do you like? Andrew says, where do you rank Yemeni coffee? I mean, some of the Yemeni coffee is amazing. Very hard to get, right? Yemen has been an interesting place. You know, it was the center of coffee for hundreds of years. Like during the Ottoman Empire, like it was like, you know, people argue whether or not coffee sprung from either Ethiopia or Yemen. Yemeni people say Yemen, Ethiopians say Ethiopia. Most people tend to think Ethiopia or the Yemen, and then somehow it jumped across the Red Sea and went to Yemen and then was widely cultivated there. Part of the reason we call coffee mocha is because pretty much all trade worked out of the port of Mocha on the eastern border or the eastern shores or the western shores of Yemen on the Red Sea. And so the Ottoman Empire, who controlled all of that then, tried to control the coffee trade because coffee was very popular and like they were trading now with Europeans and all this. And so what they would do, it was really interesting because what the Ottomans didn't want to lose control of that because they knew that if you cultivated coffee in other parts of the world, well, you may not need to buy their coffee. So what they would do is that they would either sell the coffee roasted or they would boil it slightly. And what that would do, it would like remove the germination sperms or whatever caused it to germinate. It would remove that so you couldn't plant it and grow it. But eventually, Dutch pirates smuggled coffee beans out of Yemen and then brought it to, of course, the Dutch East India Company, and they brought it to their empire and started planting in Indonesia and other parts of the world, and then coffee started to spread that way. So that's kind of how coffee, you know, leapsprung out of the Middle East, but it really started in the Middle East. George Shem says, Tony Soprano was a passionate Italian with stress in his life. He was a very passionate. Loved to spread the passion in many different ways. He was moody, in my opinion. He was moody and gray and mean and restless. Where did that go from? Definitely moody. I would agree. I would definitely agree that he was moody. Mystery says that he likes, well, more on the bitter side, but slightly acidic isn't so much for me. At least my taste goes slightly to the bitters. Oh, that's cool. I mean, here's the thing, like, if you watch, and I don't know if this is necessarily true. I'm going to say this without knowing this is true or not, because I don't really watch coffee YouTube. Like, I live coffee. Coffee's been my career for the last 24 years, I think. So I'm like up to here in coffee, so I don't necessarily come home and watch coffee on YouTube. I watch woodworking on YouTube, right? That's what I'm watching. If you talk to me about who the other creators are, like you know, like if you said to me, oh, you know, have you seen what James did, or like what Lance did, or what Emily did this week? I'm like, I haven't actually. But if you say, hey, have you seen what Rex Kruger did this week, or 731, or Paul Sellers? Yeah, I saw that. It was awesome. So, but like, you know, I imagine that they'll probably tell you things like, or other people in the business will tell you, you know, this is the best, this is the greatest, you should like this. You know, to me, it's like I've been in the business long enough now that I'm like over the superlatives, right? Telling you what is the best. Really, the best is what you enjoy. Like if you enjoy something, like I can't yuck your yum. Like, you know, it's the person that says to me, I really love Folgers. That's awesome, man. Like I can't argue with you. I mean, you like it, huh? Not to say you like Folgers, but I'm just saying. I want to be supportive of people's enjoyment rather than judgmental of it. Like I see that in the woodworking world too, right? Because I participate in like woodworking forums, and people post what they're working on, you know, and they're relatively novice types, like myself, you know, relatively novice types, and they're learning and they're trying to figure things out, and they'll post questions or they'll post their projects. And some of them are very rudimentary, right? They're very simple, and you know, there's always guys out there that they'll make some kind of comment about how, oh, you know, if you want to do better, you should not buy like your wood from like Home Depot and all that, why are you using pine, or, you know, who cares? But to me, it's like, hey man, looks great. Keep at it. Somebody said to me the other day, like, maybe a week or so, maybe 2 weeks ago, one guy wrote, some guy posted, and I made a comment to him. I said, you know, try this and something. And the guy was like, oh man, I'm so glad. He actually wrote as his response, he was like, man, thank you very much for, like, I was hoping you would chime in and said, I really appreciate the fact that you're very like cool to people. Like you're not like berating everyone like a lot of people do. And I was like, oh, I didn't think anyone noticed. But I was like, oh, that's very. And then it made me realize that, okay, I need to also double down on that, because like now I realize that people have noticed that and pay attention. So I can't just go and make a snide comment. So, okay, we're losing combustion. And I don't think I've been talking too much. We have lost combustion. So let's do a relay. That's a little bit disappointing. I have not had, and maybe I'm talking too much, because, you know, I've been smoking these as I've been watching, you know, my catch up on TV shows like Strange New Worlds and Alien Earth and Obi-Wan Kenobi, but they never go out. So that could be. So we're gonna do the Cirillo method, which is you don't knock the cherry out. I used to knock the cherry out of it, and then it would kind of create like a cavernous or cave-like apparition inside the cigar. And then one day Cirillo's like, Dan, what are you doing, man? Why are you doing that? Just do it this way. Light it around the perimeter while leaving the cherry intact, and you won't get the bitterness on the relight. It will still be perfectly fine. And I tried it, and oh man, that was a revelation in cigars. I was like, oh, this is my revolution. See? Still beautiful. But I'm also in that stage of like the woodworking journey where I'm very early into it. So technically I've studied and read a lot, so I know quite a bit about some technical aspects of what we're doing. Not necessarily a lot of practical. So I try, but the nice thing is that I'm older now, right? So I'm older. Had I been in my 20s and when I was in the same position, I would be much more roughshod on people. Be like, oh, you know, what's with this? You don't know what you're talking about. This is how it's supposed to be done. You know how it is when you have young people or someone that's young into some kind of pursuit, they learn a little bit and they get dangerous, and suddenly now they're making all these proclamations. Like, I'm trying not to make I'm old enough to know that I should not be making proclamations. And I think that's been the big difference for me, learning this new field versus learning everything else in my life. How to frame what you're trying to say in a way that is very approachable for others. Maybe a little bit more bitter now. A little bit bitter, a little pronounced in the bitterness. This is my cheap poker from Timu. It's super I actually left it in. I forgot that I had it inside the bowl one day. And I lit a fire and I was looking all over. Where's my poker? Where's my poker? And I can't find it till the next day when the fire was out. I was like, oh, there it is. Turn some of these logs. I'm always fascinated actually about how you can turn the log, turn the wood, and it like increases its fire. Steven says, Tatuaje 10th anniversary, Miami, Tuxedo. Opinions? I think they're great, man. They're great. Tatuaje, generally speaking, like, I think that if you like Tatuaje, if you found positive enjoyment in Tatuajes in the past, you know, Pete's very good at, like, maintaining, like, a level of consistency. Maintaining, not necessarily flavor consistency, but I think enjoyment, fulfillment, consistency across his different cigars. Like, I've never had a Tatuaje that I smoked that I was like, I didn't find some level of enjoyment in them. Now, I am very predisposed to liking Tatuajes, but like, I've not found one that I was like, oh, this is not my thing. May not necessarily always been to like what I really liked, but not to the point where I was like, oh. But I think it's important to give it a try. Like, when I first started cigar smoking, I started by going to this cigar shop when I was living in Hawaii. A place called, back then it was called Don Pablo's Cigar Shop. And Don Pablo was actually a company from Las Vegas, where they rolled their own cigars in Vegas. But when they opened their Honolulu shop, and in Vegas they only sold their own cigars. But in Honolulu, they realized they needed to, people didn't know their cigars. And they weren't rolling in Honolulu, they were just sending the cigars rolled. That they had to have a humidor that had more than their cigars. So they bought a lot of other brands. And so when I started, I just basically, every time I went to the cigar shop, which actually turned out to be like almost every day, I would just get a different cigar every day and just smoke I quite literally smoked my way from each shelf on the humidor. And I figured out what I liked, what I didn't like, based on just that journey. So I think it's, you know, the Tuxedo 10th anniversary worth trying. Andrew says the Dunkin's up from my studio in New York City in the morning was always super, super busy, and coffee was amazingly good. Not so late yet. I mean, that's the one thing, especially with Dunkin's, right? Dunkin's, especially in the day, they had those carafe burners. So if they were turning and burning, great. Because you're getting freshly brewed coffee all the time. But once it starts to sit, and it sits on that heater, and it just heats and heats and heats and heats, and just breaks down the flavors, yeah, it doesn't. Then you really need the cream and cheese. And a lot of donuts. And that's when Dunkin's had great donuts. Dunkin's does not have great donuts anymore. We found that out the hard way last week. Tony says, Stephen, I've had lots of the Tuxedo editions, just not that one, and I'm a fan of the San Andreas Wrapper Leaf.
I had the corner order earlier this evening. Oh, nice, nice. Mad Mofo's here. What's going on, man? How are you?
Good to see you, man. It's been a while. How you doing? How you doing?
If you're out there, Mad Mofo, having a cigar, let us know what you're smoking. And all of you guys, if you haven't told me what you're smoking, let me know. I'm interested to know. Like Biscuit, if you're out smoking, let us know what you're smoking. Always interesting. So this one, the El Triunfador Robusto. Nice. Now, ever since the relight, there has been a little bit more bitterness.
But not offensive, right?
Like not difficult. And the coffee's still very hot and like,
Oh, very nice.
although right now it feels that it's a little bit softer than it was earlier. Softer on the palate. Not as sharp and clean. Steven says, thanks, Tony. I had the mentioned cigar and was disappointed in it. And I know that I know I've had better offerings from that line. Oh, so you've had the Tawatuxla, you know. If you've had the Tawatuxla and you didn't like it,
And you are concerned about whether or not you like the Tuxla version of the 10th anniversary, I would say that
I would encourage you to try it, but also if it's, and I don't know the pricing on that, but if it's at a price point that you think is pretty darn high, and you're like, oh man, I don't know if I want to spend that kind of money on a cigar,
then perhaps it's all right to pass. There's plenty of other tatuajes that would be of a more affordable or more reasonable price point that would be very good. My personal favorite of tatuajes lineup is the regular lineup is the Kohonu 2003 or 2004, 2003, which was one of the very first cigars that they ever made.
and it was the first, the actual original. Well, I just said the name and I can't remember what.
Kohonu, the original Kohonu was the first tatuaje that I ever had back in 2004. So that to me, that's always a favorite of their lineup. But I've had like their Escasso series, which he had all different sizes of the Escassos. If you can get those, I think those are lovely cigars. But he named it after one of his old dogs, Hunter. So there's Hunter Escassos. Each letter has their own size of the line, and those are also very wonderful. To me, the 10th anniversary black, or is that right? The black anniversary, that's stellar.
So you could stay with all of those and never really deviate out of that.
Another one that I think that's really good, but it's a little bit stronger, is I don't think it's released. Maybe Tony knows it's better, but it's not. I don't believe it's not released under the Tatuaje name. I think it's released more under my father's distribution. But it's called the Avion,
And that's nice, big, like figurado. Love that cigar. But smoke-wise, burn is great. Look at the burn. It's never really deviated or made any kind of like, uneven burning. Still burning nicely, even. Draw's still good.
smoke is good.
There's been a couple times when I busted out these old Fonseca 22s, which are these little tiny petite Corona size cigars. They're fairly old now. And I think, they might be at a point they're a little bit light. I'm like, maybe it's time to let them sit for another long stretch to see if they pick up again. That's what I found over the years, is that sometimes cigars will our expectations that as we age and rest our cigars, they get better, they improve. But I think they improve to a point, and then there's a period where they become fallow. And then sometimes they return. I don't know if all of them return. And then sometimes they're just not very good, so they never ever increase. Like we had this one box of Cuban Monte Cristo number 2s, but a few years ago, that I sourced from Puro Express in Spain, and got them, and they were just mediocre versions of the Monte number 2. And I figured, okay, let's let them rest. So I put them down for a year. Came back a year later, still had none. They just didn't have the bones to do anything else. And that's one of the problems with Cubans that I find, is that it can be hit or miss, right? Sometimes you get great examples that are just mind-blowing. And then later you might try another of the same cigar. That's just mediocre. It's a shame. Tony says, Avion series is still a Tatuaje cigar. It now comes in that trip pack of Petite Robusto Cojetes, T110, and one size Avion. The current one is a Nicaraguan Carajo wrapper. Oh, nice. Those were shipped about a week ago. Nice. Are you guys carrying those in your place, Tony? Tony works for a place called Not Watching Cigars here in Baltimore. If you're looking for cigars, you can go give him a call tomorrow and maybe order some, and he'll ship them out to you. I don't know if I'm presuming they'll ship them to you. I'm totally making that up. I don't have any idea. But he'll definitely let us know if that's not a possibility. I started watching, one of my favorite series has been what's it called? Only Murders in the Building. So it's finally come back. It's on Hulu. I don't know why I remember that piece, because I don't really watch it on Hulu. And it's good. I enjoy it. I enjoy the show a lot. It's, of course, you don't know, it's with Steve Martin and Martin Short and Selena Gomez. And they do a podcast about murders that happen in the building they live. And for some reason, there's always a murder in their building every year. So it's quite convenient for them. This season, or at the end of last season, the doorman Lester got killed, and now they're trying to investigate it. But they had a twist this past week. Supposedly the police came out and said that it was not a homicide, it was natural causes. But the guy was all bloody in the water fountain in front of the building, so who knows? Of course, that can't be the end of it, because we're only in episode 3, and there's still 7 more to go. Tony says, yes, we do have those in right now, and depending, we can ship. Okay, there it is, we can ship, there it is. One thing I like about smoking outside is that, you don't have to worry about smoke abatement. Like when you're indoors, or some kind of enclosed space, there's the smoke will sometimes linger, and you're kind of, I'm afraid of the smoke, so I'm always ducking around the smoke. And I never thought that I'd be in a situation where I would be outside and that would be a problem. But I remember when I met Skip Martin back in 2013. I was in Honolulu, and Marvin, my friend, was having a Roma craft event, first time. So Skip came out to Honolulu, and I happened to be there the right weekend. And they had it in the club that I belong to, the Waikiki Yacht Club. And the Waikiki Yacht Club clubhouse is pretty much open air on 3 sides of the building. It's all open air. Really great. And we sat in the main dining room, took over the whole dining room. So the whole dining room was filled with all these cigar smokers, smoking cigars. And that night was what we call Kono winds, which means that there's no winds. Trade winds stopped blowing. And that smoke lingered inside the club. Like, I could not believe it. I was like, wow, this is terrible. So it doesn't always happen, but most nights when you're outside, but right now it's going well because the air is generally blowing in this direction, so it just kind of, I really like that. Like when we had a roastery and I had the smoking in the roastery, like that was my main goal. Was how do we get the smoke to just out? I'm a little bit cavalier in that, like Bud and I will have this discussion about like smoke abatement, and he's always like, and I'm a big exhaust guy. Like I want to exhaust everything out, just blow the smoke out, get it out of my face, get it out of the room, get it outside the building. But Bud's always more frugal. He's always like, it costs more money because you're blowing, and it's true. You're taking all of the conditioned air, all the heated or air conditioned air, and you're blowing it straight out the exhaust. So you're just, and he's like, you're wasting money. And I was like, I get that, but I don't mind. I'll waste a little bit of money for 2 hours and then sit in like hard smoke. That's just my. Remember when my friend installed the, and it's true, like in restaurants it's like that too, because my friend built a kitchen one year, quite a long time ago now. And it was the middle of winter when we were in there testing it out, and we're on the hotline, just playing around testing some cooking, right? And so the same thing has to happen there. Like whatever you pull, whatever you displace, whatever you're pushing out, you have to replace. And so this new system from what was it called? What's the air system called by Rusty? The high-tech one, Fresh Air or something like that. And it was a new system they just designed, so it would drop the replacement air behind you. So you're on the line, it drops behind you, and man, it's the middle of winter, man. That air that was coming into the building, onto the hotline was just frigid. I was like, holy God, this is terrible. But you know, I think that in the heat of service, it's not going to be a big deal because then you're really like working. Right? But at the time we were testing it out, we're just making a couple items on the range and something like that. This is terrible. Oh, speaking of cooking, man, I haven't caught up on the. I saw the first couple episodes of The Bear, but I haven't watched the rest of it. I need to catch up on that. I don't find much time to sit down and watch shows as much as I used to. I used to be able to do that all the time. Now it's like, I got other stuff to do. I gotta try to edit more. I edit more videos to release on the channels. That always is different. I've shot a lot, but editing them is always that's the choke point for me. It's like, I gotta sit down and do it. Steven says, I agree, I tend to enjoy cigars and lounges that are, oh yes, absolutely. And that's some of my favorite lounges. Some of my favorite lounges are the ones that are, my favorite lounges are the ones that do that exceptionally well. And one of my favorites is, we've done a couple shows from there, the tobacco shop in Ridgewood, New Jersey. And Gary up there built a place called the Davidoff Lounge, and it is just awesome. Like, it really kind of showed like the theory that we've always worked with was that you have to exhaust from above. And even Gary was like, when we were talking, I was asking about that, he was like, yeah, the best way is to exhaust from above. And interesting, we always think about like, we need big registers, right, for the exhaust. But above each seating position in that lounge, he's only got like a 6-inch circular port above each position. And that's more than enough. Like, there's no displeasure of smoke sitting there. Another place that I found that was really great is that there's an old Sheraton hotel in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. One night we went to smoke there. And it was really interesting because you look at the ceiling, and I remember we were sitting there smoking, and I was like, man, the exhaust here is awesome. Like, it was awesome. And I was looking up to see how they did it. And they did have ports. They had bigger registers above every seating position. But you could see in the ceiling that they had moved them over the years, right? They had put some
certain places that didn't work, so they moved it. So there, it was, you could see the patchwork on the ceiling.
And then I went that in 2018. They opened a new La Casa del Habano in Frankfurt, Germany, and I went. And they have this beautiful like underground cave bar.
It's basically like they built this. They basically took the foundation of the building, dug it out of whatever hard granite is under there. They basically chipped it all out. This huge cavernous space, and they built a bar, a lounge in there. It's really beautiful. It's really amazing. You should definitely go and check it out. And above the bar, they have this huge like exhaust system. But that's it. There's just one point of exhaust.
So everything has to flow there. And as I sat there for that session, I was like, it doesn't do it very efficiently because it only has that one point of exit. So everything had to make their way there. And like even in my own smoking room, you can see that even though you've got this, in the old smoking room, I had this super high powered like squirrel cage fan that was like pulling really hard. And you could see it like, and I expect to be like, but you sit that, like if you sat under it, it worked beautiful, it worked great. If you sat at the bar, it worked amazing.
But if you sat back from like 6 feet, man, that smoke would meander all over the place. And I was like, this just blows. It's like, this blows.
Andrew says, nice thing about smoking outside is it's your cigar and not mixed with all the others. And I'm going, oh, that's true. But even for me, it's like, if it lingers and gets in my face, I still don't enjoy it. I'm like,
I will try to run away from it.
one. A little bit of white oak.
Pallet white oak.
So because I'm using pallet wood, a lot of it, every once in a while I have to sift through all the ashes and pull the nails out of it. There's tons and tons of nails. Because sometimes, you know, I take apart the pallets, right, with a pry bar, trying to pull them out, but sometimes you just can't get them out. And sometimes they're so rusty, the heads break off, and it's like,
Forget it. But I got a pallet recently, this really long pallet, because I need some long pieces of lumber.
And they're like 6 feet long. So I was like determined to get those nails out. And the problem with pallet nails,
They're not straight.
like wire nails, right? They're actually wire nails,
But they're twisted, so there's actually a screw to them. So they're really a pain in the butt to get out.
but they like quickly and nice. And I think one of the nice things about the Weber kettle is that it has good airflow through it. So, you know, once you get a fire going, man, it just burns. I dig it. Like I said, if you're thinking that you would like to have some kind of fire pit, the Weber kettle, man, is so like beautiful. This is the medium-sized kettle. And so if you want, you know, you can burn your fire at night, and then tomorrow if you want to grill, you put the grill back on and you cook.
It's fabulous.
And because Weber's so serious about their grilling, whatever coating they're putting on it, it's not blistering, it's not rusting, it's not doing it. There's nights I've been burning some pretty hard fires, and pretty hot. And it's still not damaged. I don't know what coating they put on these things. It's very solid. But for me, a lot of times, I'll just be like out here with the fire, my Diet Coke, cigar, and I put on a podcast, usually a woodworking podcast. I listen to the Fine Woodworking Shop Talk Live podcast, as well as Wood Talk, which is another podcast. They're both fairly entertaining podcasts. Although I think the guys from Wood Talk are a little bit sensitive. Evidently they're the #1 woodworking podcast in America. They have the most downloads, and Shop Talk Live is the second most popular. But it's interesting. I think the Wood Talk guys are more of a. I think the people that gravitate to them are more mainstream, right? Like general woodworkers, whereas the Fine Woodworking podcast is more fine woodworkers. So the topics are a little bit different. So I think it's an interesting. So the guys on the Wood Talk podcast were kind of complaining about they were saying they were making a big deal that they were the better one, right? The more popular one. And I was thinking, I get it. Andrew, I was thinking about you earlier this week because there's an auction site called Rasmus that I sometimes look at, RASMUS, and they're an area, Maryland, DC, Virginia-based auction house. And I saw a listing that they had a woodworking shop down in Gaithersburg that was auctioning all this stuff. It actually happened on Tuesday. I totally missed it. They had all this equipment for sale, and I was thinking about you because some of the equipment were these really tiny things. Like, I think they're called Proxon. So they're like little teeny tiny table saws and like other types of woodworking gear, more for the kind of work that you're doing. Like you guys may not know this, but Andrew does a lot of these like really, really fine wood models, like boats in glass, in bottles, like that kind of level of like sophistication. And I saw those and I was like, oh man, I wonder. But I think if I recall, you have pretty much everything you need. I was like, just I thought about it. Getting down to it, man. Getting down to it. Like I'm almost to the point that I have to put it down because I'm going to burn myself soon. But like I said with other things, with earlier, like if I look, we can do some scoring on it. So I'm saying that I'm looking here now, and if I have a hard time seeing because the color temperature is all kind of very blue, and the pencil's a little bit thin. This is a 0.5 millimeter, or this is a 0.7 millimeter pencil. So it's like But it looks like if I calculate correctly, we're at 87. So 87 is a very good score. It's a very good cigar, but it's not one of these cigars that are like 90 plus. But here's the thing, I find this cigar to be very much in the vein of like the Revenge or the Castilla de Murcia, which are cigars that I really enjoy smoking on a very regular basis. So to me, this is right in my wheelhouse. Even though it's not like super high scoring, it's like super solid, super solid. And like I said, it's a box of 25. And in the last few weeks, there's only 18 left now after tonight. So I'm really starting. I feel like I feel like, you know, when you look at the brand new box, it's all full. You're like, oh, you feel comfortable. You feel very assured in it. It's very comforting. But now, with only 18 left, it's like there's a panic that starts. If I continue at this pace, this is going to be gone very soon. Like the box of the Castelluta Murcias that I bought back in March. There's maybe 4 cigars left. And I'm like, part of me is stressed. Part of me is like, oh, I'm in trouble. But part of me is also like, just going to plow ahead. We're just going to continue on because you know what? Darn things are so good. Might as well enjoy them, right? That's what they're there for. Cigars are meant to be smoked, not hoarded. That's one of the things I admire. Like, a lot of our friends will maintain collections of cigars. One of our friends, Scott, he doesn't do that. Like, he's very different. He's very much like, he buys and he smokes. And he doesn't like keep a large stock of cigars at home. And I gotta say, there's a part of me that's very, very envious of that. Like, you have a big collection of cigars, you've got to maintain it, you've got to have the right environment, you have to consider them. And then the worst part of it is that you may sit there and you're like, look at these cigars. You're like, I bought these cigars in, I don't know, 2015. Do I want to smoke them now? Maybe I should keep them low. I don't know if that's a good thing. Plus, there's the other thought of it, it's like, you know, as you get older, and you have a lot of cigars, you're like, can I live long enough to smoke everything that I have without buying more? That, I find that to be a stressful situation. Like, oh, I'm gonna die at some point. Can I finish all of these before that eventuality? Let's turn this on. I mean, this is a fairly decent piece of oak, so it's like, one more. Whoa, no! Oh. Well, there that goes. So it's still right here. I can still get another one out of it. Nice. This is the part where you're like trying to hold it in a way where you don't get burned, but you're really just holding the wrapper. So the wrapper is now forward of the rest of the end of the cigar, so you're not really getting any suction. So most of the smoke that you're trying to pull is not actually getting on the palate, so you're not really tasting it. Can't do any more. Let's see how our coffee goes. Not bad, not bad. I always want to like move the wood around to like get more space under it. Andrew says, if that was a $10 cigar, it looks like you got $9.98. Thank you, I appreciate that. So Andrew, do you have any ideas of what the special smokes will be next week? I am a little bit curious to, there's part of me that would like to know and there's part of me that just will be surprised. My understanding is that, and my understanding could definitely be wrong, but so next week, if that's another thing, if you guys are available next week, we'll probably do some kind of stream from on next Thursday night, but we will be down at Capital Cigar for George's 70th birthday party. And my understanding is that Pete made him a cigar or something like that. Is that right? Maybe that's off, but I'm looking forward to it. It should be a nice time. Just know the Pete is doing, ooh, okay, one off, excellent. All right, whatever Pete's one-off will be, we're going to smoke that next week. We'll talk about it. And a lot of the guys will be there too, so you won't just get to my opinion on it. You'll get to hear more thoughts on that cigar. Jonas said, I agree with that statement. 100%. Thank you. Or should you say 998%? I don't know. But yeah, that's what's coming next week. Jordan's 70th birthday. 70. That's excellent. Excellent birthday time. Excellent birthday time. It is a pleasant evening tonight. And it's this time of year, we're September 18th now, this time of year it's kind of like we're having pleasant evenings, but you know the winter is coming. So you don't know how many of these are going to be left. I was actually really surprised today that we got into the 80s. I remember my nephew had his cross-country meet today, so I drove out to see him. Holy moly, it's pretty hot. It's crazy. 9.98 might be average. One thing that's interesting, like, because I've always, since I'm using my computer to monitor what's happening from my other account, so I'm watching it much as all of you are watching it as well. I can see the lag between times. So as I'm saying it in the corner of my eye, I can see that what I'm doing right this moment is not what I'm seeing on the screen. What I'm seeing on the screen is what I did a few seconds ago. So it's like, oh, it's interesting. But sometimes, you know, when you're doing the live stream, you're talking about things and you're wondering, does anyone hear you? And then it always takes a few more moments for people to respond or make a comment on something that you might have said. And so it's like, oh, that does take a little while. It does take a little while. What time is it? It's almost time. It's almost time. Well, I guess that's really all that I have for you this week. Thank you very much for tuning in. Always good to see all of you. It's an honor that you're spending time with me. I really am always honored that you're here and hanging out with me on Thursday nights for our Thursday night hang. Like I said before, we're going to be back again next week. But next week, on the 25th, we're going to be at Capital Cigar. So it's going to be a little bit of a different kind of thing. I don't know how engaged we'll be, but we'll probably at least set the camera up and let it run, and, like, you know, everybody can talk and engage, and it should be kind of an interesting way to go. So come join us then. If you can at all, come to Maryland, come to Bethesda, to Capital Cigar. It's in Bethesda. And I know it's a Thursday night, so it's very difficult to get around, especially if you're not from the immediate area. But if you can, come join us. It'll be a really nice time. And like Andrew said, Pete's making a one-off cigar for the event. So that'll be a really nice incentive to encourage you to come down. You know, even if you drive the 3 hours from the New York area to just come and then drive back that night. I've done crazy things like that. Actually, this morning I was thinking about doing that because they were having a Festool event at WTB Woodworking in Huntington Valley, Pennsylvania, which is a suburb of Philadelphia, but north of Philadelphia. So I looked it up, and I've been there before. It's really a nice little shop, a nice little scene, but I was like, man, it's a 2.5-hour drive from here. I'm like, do I want to drive 2.5 hours and then come back? 5-hour trip in a day? I was like, I don't know if I want to do that today. So I didn't. I stayed home. Especially since my nephew was having his cross-country meet, I thought I would stay and go see that. But all right, Mom, good to see you. Andrew, Tony, Stephen, and everyone, Bud, and all you guys out there, thanks for tuning in. Always good to see you. Back again next week with another episode of the Coffee and Cigars live stream. So hope you have a great one, and see you next time.